Hi, I'm Ross from Crimsmith Property Accountants, and today we're going to look at a new build, the first new build that I could find just searching through the internet. Well, it had a price and had the rent, so it made it easy for me. What we're going to look through is what's the cash flow going to be like for you on that property, and what's a couple of little things that I would look at it, but really concentrating on what's the cash flow and what does it sort of look like as a rental long term. So I'll just bring up this property. So this is the first property that I found. I was just searching on realestate.co.nz for a new build. It's 435 Cashew Street in Linwood. I have no idea who the owner is or developer is. I've got no relationship with it. Just the first one that popped up when I searched for a new build, 2-bedroom in Christchurch. So yeah, it's got a picture. It's obviously 2-story high. Obviously, all the fancy little pictures in here. What I'm getting to with this is it's a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom in the middle upstairs, and then downstairs the living areas and things like that. Why I like this picture is it sort of gives you quite good information where it is. So there's obviously new townhouses in here. There's new townhouses in here. It's on a corner. There's no parking all the way around. So straight away with something like this is obviously a number of units. Where's the car parking going to be? Yeah, what's that going to be long term as you get more and more developments around there? Where are these people going to park? Because there's some parking in here, but there's no parking all the way around on those yellow lines. So the parking would always interest me. And I've got a map with it here. So yeah, obviously a large number of units. They've got 1 car park each. So that would worry me. This sort of property as well is freehold. So they're advertising it. Most likely there's going to be some sort of owners association in there. So it's just looking at who's paying for the driveway upkeep? How are they going to get money out of the owners? What legal rights does that resident society have? And how's that all going to work together? Also be careful insurance because lots of them are joined together. So lots of sort of things to look at with that and sort of get an idea on that. So I'm just going back to my picture. I'll go back into that. So other things obviously looking at is the price, $499, and under read more, got a little idea. It's got their rental appraisal $490 to $520, and if I was getting serious, I'd never believe that, and I would ring up 2 or 3 different property managers and actually have a chat. What's the demand like for the property? How many more new units coming online? And in Christchurch, there's a lot of other new properties, so I would be looking at what else is about to come online. What's the demand? What's the likely rent? Getting my own independent property managers, not ones associated to the vendors anyway. So yeah, for this example, I'm just going to add the date on it. Obviously, we're doing it today, 15th of February 23. So buying at $499,000. There's some cost to buy. There's always going to be a valuation, some legals. You might get a building inspection. Yeah, other things you might get to it. And you're likely to get some sort of contribution back from the bank. I always work on 100% debt. So if you've got cash, awesome, but you want a return on that. So start with 100% debt so that, it's showing how the property really looks. The rent they're saying $490 to $520, so $505 in the middle. It's a brand new property. You should get 52 weeks, but there's a whole lot of them. There was about 18 units in this. That area in Christchurch is a whole lot of new units. So to me, 51 weeks. I'll be nice today and I'll put 51 weeks, but I'd be really thinking about that probably after the talk with the property manager. What is that demand? How hard is it going to be to rent to start with? So first thing we're looking at is gross yield. 51 times 505, 26,000 almost. 26,000 divided by 499 purchase, 5.15% gross yield. 5% gross yield is actually reasonably good on new builds at the moment, and it's quite hard to get much better than that. So initially you're sort of thinking, oh, that's okay and compared with other things. But when we're looking at a 6.5% interest rate, obviously the rent is not going to cover the interest. Less known than other expenses. So then we go through other expenses. So we've got accounting, we've got some sort of owners association or body corporate. Insurance in Christchurch is always higher. Interest rate, I've got 6.5%. Property management, 8% plus GST, so normal. Some rates, probably a little bit high for this. They're probably a bit lower. Repairs, it's a new build, so you should have very low repairs for the first 10 years. Maybe some education, might go along to some property seminars, might join your local property investor association. And I'm in Hamilton, so let's put in an airfare down there, $500. So you've got 26,000 in, 43,000 out. You're losing $17,000. It's a huge loss. So yeah, even though the gross yield is relatively good, we're losing quite a lot. We don't have to worry about my ugly red line because it's a new build. We don't have to worry about interest limitation rules. We will get good chattels depreciation. There'll be good carpets, curtains, dishwasher, stove, heat pumps. So we'll end up with a huge loss for tax purposes and no tax to pay. The problem is we're still losing 17,000. New rules that came in a few years ago from the 1st of April 19, that loss can't offset your personal income. It can't offset your PAYE job, your business. It can only offset other residential rental properties. So you're most likely you're going to get no tax refund at all. It's going to cost you 17,000 a year in cash, or $340 a week you have to put in. I then sort of have a look, what do I think interest rates are going to do over the next few years? And it's so hard to guess it. So I'm sort of going, they look like they're going to go up a bit, then maybe come back and then maybe sit slowly sort of around that 5% over the next 10 years. I don't have a crystal ball. Pretty much no expert ever guesses interest rates right, but it sort of gives an idea. That to me seems to be a reasonable expectation. It doesn't seem likely that they're going to drop down to 2% in any great hurry, but it also seems like they're getting near that peak now and then will come back again, maybe come back quicker if we're lucky. So I look over a 10-year period, and it's this example too, new build in Christchurch, 15th of February. Yeah, on average, over 10 years, we're looking at it losing about $12,000 per year. So that's $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year of your cool hard cash that you'll have to put into it. If it wasn't a new build and you'd already owned it, and you were losing interest over 4 years, it would be 15,000 loss. And if it was an existing property, not a new build, and you purchased it now, you'd have no interest at all. You'd lose 17,000 a year. So you can sort of see the difference. There's about $5,000 difference if this wasn't a new build, or about 50,000 over a 10-year period, which is what I look at. To me, interesting thing is, yeah, often the new builds, the prices have gone up that 50,000, or they're overpriced by 50,000. So new build, you pay 50,000 more so you can get the interest deduction. Or existing, you pay 50,000 less often and you don't get interest deduction. So they're actually really similar. Going back to this new build, yeah, 12,000 a year. We're looking at a 10-year cost, 122,000. Capital gain is such a hard one. Like in the past, generally property has doubled every 10 years. So you hope your 499 goes to about $1 million in 10 years time. So you're kind of gambling $122,000 of your cool hard cash against a possible capital gain of 499,000. I did a bit of a graph trying to sort of set what might happen with property, and this is what's happened in the past. Property market flat, boom, flat, boomed. COVID hit, boomed like absolute crazy. And then the guess is it's sort of going to go flat. If you see some of my other posts, yeah, I think the market's flat. I don't think it's really going down. And I'm about to do a new post on that on January's figures in the next few days. But yeah, we're sort of looking at some sort of flat period. How long? No one knows. No one gets it perfectly right. Yeah, there's lots of different factors affecting it. It could be shorter, it could be longer. But you're going to get some sort of flat period, and normally property would go up. So on this graph, if we went from that, yeah, we would be looking at a 276,000 capital gain. So it means if you did this over 10 years, if we got that gain in value, cost you 122, you're only gaining 153,000. My mind, it's a real big gamble to take. It's a huge cash loss. It's a lot of cash that you've got to put in every year. There's no potential to subdivide or add bedrooms or add properties. You can't add value to this property. It's already done and it's already brand new. So to me, yeah, the only possible people it would work for is someone with really high income or someone with really good cash. But yeah, still really marginal for me. So we'll do a couple of twists. So what happens if you could get 100,000 discount and you could get it for $399? So at $399, you're still 11,000 loss at 6.5% interest rate. Long term, that would get us down to 6.5. So that would start to get more interesting. So yeah, potentially, if you could get it for 100,000 discount, the $499 down to $399. Still not my cup of tea, not what I'd go for, but it starts to get a bit better. The cash flow starts to get better. The gamble of your cash in now and over the next 10 years versus capital gain is getting better. Other option, what happens if you had 499,000 cash and you put that in? We'll make it the 500, 160, so it gives you exactly a zero mortgage. So yeah, what happens if you had cash sitting there and you wanted to pay it off completely? You'd then end up with a 14,000 surplus, less depreciation, maybe about 9, pay some tax if you're at 33%, be left with $12,000 or a 2.38% return after tax. If we looked over a 10-year period, it would be a 2.37% return on investment after tax, plus you're hoping for capital gain. So like I said, yeah, not my ideal property, but if you did have a whole lot of cash, yeah, potentially that's not too bad. It's not an amazing cash return, but it still is some cash coming in, and still you've got the capital gain potential. So yeah, if you could buy it for 100,000 discount, or you could, yeah, you have a whole lot of cash that you don't know where to do with. I would probably try and buy better things, but that would be the only two ways to me it would really work. Otherwise, you're looking at that large cash flow loss. So if we just go back to what that is, yeah, if you are borrowing 100%, 6.5% interest, you're looking at losing 17,000. If interest rates go down a little bit and average out about, yeah, it will come out sort of 5% in the next sort of 2026 onwards for the last 5 years, you would be looking at about a 12,000 cost, which, yeah, to me is still really high. That's interest only. All those figures are interest only. P&I, you'd be up to about 18,000 that you'd have to put in. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully it's given you some good information. And like I say, not trying to sell the property, no relationship to the seller, got no properties to sell you. It's just really trying to point out what that cash flow is like. And if you've got existing properties, make sure you know what that cash flow is. What's your property costing you, especially if interest rates jumping up. Buying a new property, just pause, take your time, make sure it's really working for you. Make sure you know why you're buying property. What's your aims and goals? What are you going to get out of property investment? And watch that cash flow. Watch what it's really costing you. Thanks a lot. Bye.